Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode. Today's episode, all about bokeh for wildlife. That's it. It's going to be a fun one. You can see we're going from real simple stuff here to some of the craziest stuff that you can do. And we're going to talk about how it's done, how we achieve it, what we're looking for, and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a great episode, especially for any beginners out there that really haven't played with it that much or don't have a really good understanding of that kind of thing. And for all of you intermediate people that maybe haven't really pushed into some of the interesting weird stuff that Brad and I love to do, we're going to get into that. So a great topic today. But we also have some other fun stuff. So we've got, Brad has been shooting Sanderlings and has observed some really fun behavior with them. He's also trying to keep his camera gear safe from the saltwater. I can't wait to hear some stories there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I got to say, I haven't been shooting much at all. Emilie and I have been on our travel mode, friends visiting. So I've been visiting a lot of friends. Nice. We stayed in a small town in New York that has a lot of nostalgia to Emilie, which I'll talk about. I did do a lot of hiking, and I actually did. I'm going to share some. We did some astrophotography, and an interesting story about how that came to be.
That's cool.
Bought some new gear. I have new gear again. That's because, again, this is what happens, man. We get back in places where we can buy stuff here. And we buy,
True, yeah.
Get everything.
Get everything, yeah.
And then, let's see what else. And then we got some fun hypotheticals, couple little bit of photo news things, and then pick our challenge picks for the end, which this week's we're picking the favorite close-up portraits. So that's what's in store, guys. So
it's gonna be
Brad,
fun.
before we get into what you've been up to, let's just run down a couple of these things this month here, or this week, I should say. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about is your pick from one of the previous episodes, which was, what was this one we were looking for? What was the theme on this? Do you remember?
Non-bird, anything mammal,
that's right.
or anything not bird,
Yeah, so you chose this awesome turtle, and we had a fun discussion about like focal length and what it was back there. So I got in touch with the original photographer, and it's Magnus Wahlin, and it's this green sea turtle, and he said it was taken with, drum roll please, 500 millimeter. So it was a little bit longer than...
A little bit longer,
than I think some of us were guessing.
Makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, it certainly makes sense for sure.
Yeah,
with the size of those bokeh balls in the background.
I know, but you never know. Like some of these fast, shorter mid-range primes can achieve it if you're close. Like it can be hard to tell.
Yeah, it's achievable,
so it's nice to
definitely
know. Yeah, it was a 500 f4, and so he gave me a little bit more info. And there were waves crashing in the background, which is what we both kind of assumed. He said, I waited for the biggest wave so that I can include the most bokeh behind without having to angle the photo down and lose depth of field. So that was
cool.
kind of a little bit of thinking on that one. So nice to hear from the photographer there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And we also... I don't want to seem like we're so Nikon focused. I mean, we are. We both shoot Nikon.
We are, yeah.
On the last episode, we talked about that ZR, that video-focused Nikon camera that was announced. And then, of course, right after we record, I think it was like later that day or the next day, I look and I'm like, oh, wait, Canon had just released their C50, like even before that, you know? And so I feel bad that we didn't mention that and talk about it. Still not a camera I think either of us are interested in, but I didn't want to leave you Canon folks out because I know Canon tends to be a little bit more better with video. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting thing to see what all the video people say about this new Nikon red combo versus what the likes of Canon and Sony, and I can't say any of these brands today.
Definitely.
I'm like merging them all up. But the features and tech specs are a little bit over our heads with what they do. You know, we are not video people, but it does sound like from the little bit of stuff I've heard about it, sounds like another really interesting intro into that range. But I think the big difference is price. I think, look at this, 3,800. So almost, not quite, but almost twice as much as that Nikon. So
I think it was 21 or something, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, 21, 22. Nikon came in hard on the pricing, you know? So that's pretty interesting there. So anyway, there we go. We're not ignoring you, Canon folks. We know you guys exist and we love you all. So
definitely.
We'll try our best in the future to keep all the photo news, you know, everything that's happening.
Well, there's so many different brands and there's so
I
many
know.
different announcements out there. Like it
I
is
know.
hard because then it's like, well, Sony's pretty popular. So it's like,
Yeah,
should
yeah,
you
yeah.
include though? You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and
there's
if
lots
Sony
of
comes
stuff
out with some
there.
really cool stuff, for sure we're going to talk about
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah, we
for
definitely
sure.
will. So then let's see. What's up next? That's the photo news. Let's do our fun hypothetical. We'll put that up front this
Yeah,
time.
let's do one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Brad, everybody listening, watching, would you rather shoot only the same subject in any light, so you get good light, bad light,
Mhm.
varied light, but only the same subject for the rest of your wildlife photography career? Or
Okay.
would you rather shoot any subject, nice variety of subjects, but you're stuck in only overcast light?
So can I add a question to this?
Sure.
I'm assuming you can place that subject in any location, or are you stuck with the same location?
Yeah, no, but just shooting the same subject every time, you know?
I'm taking subject every time.
Of course, I knew you would. Of course, you're not going to ever pick, I'm going to shoot
Dude,
an
I'm
overcast
close.
light.
Dude, I'm close enough there now. I shoot the same.
You're like that.
feels
You're
like the
describing
same
my
stuff.
life.
I know, right? But to me, it's just like, if you can pick the light all the time, like there's so many variations of like that different, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather just give me one subject. If I can do any different trippy light and stuff, I'm all in.
Listen, I love the light too. Maybe not as much as you.
Yeah.
I think obviously not as much. I'm picking the subjects, man. I want a variety of stuff.
Are you
I would
really?
dude, if I had
no.
to shoot, if I had to shoot semi-palm sandpiper the entire time, or even throw me in the forest and give me like my favorite warbler, if I had to shoot yellow-throated warbler only, I don't care. Even if I'm getting all the varied light and everything, I'm going to get bored with it. I don't think I would keep going, dude. I don't think I would keep going. I don't think it would be enough.
Definitely.
I don't think the light would be
But if you
enough.
think about it, if you can take that subject, oh, this is good. But so say you can take that subject and then you can place that subject to any kind of location. Then you can shoot it in any kind of lens because there's no restriction on the lens.
No.
So now you could shoot wider stuff, tighter. Like I don't know that I would get bored with that. But if I had to go out every day and it was like overcast, like no. Heck no. I guess, an overcasty kind of like bland light can kind of work a bit for like wider scene and stuff, but just like like portrait stuff would be so boring so
It is
fast.
a tough one.
No,
This
give
may be
me
one of our
light.
toughest ones yet.
It's good. I really enjoy it. When you sent me this, I was like, oh, I like this one. Yeah,
Yeah, I knew
really
this would be a good one. Well, because here's the other thing,
Yeah.
Brad. Yes, you can place that subject anywhere, but listen, it's still got to be within the reality of where they live. So you're still going to be in similar habitat all the time. It's not like you're going to be able to take your shorebird and throw it in the forest.
Why
you know what I
not?
mean? Still not doing
Puffins
it?
in a tree.
Yeah.
Well, we did. No. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
I knew you were
going good
picking light.
I'm all about light. I
I knew
love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I just find it.
So,
it's very
yeah.
interesting.
Everybody watching, what
That's
would
a
you
good
pick
one.
on that one? That's a tough one.
Mhm.
That's a
I
tough
like
one.
that one.
Yeah, let us know.
You did good.
We'd love to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
That's
on
good.
to, let's see, what's next? I think that's all the little, other stuff we
Mhm.
have.
Catch
So,
up.
dude, what you been up to, man? How was this past week?
It's been good. It's been like very quick outings, like last minute, kind of like, hey, light's good, going now. Like, like I didn't think I was gonna really shoot a ton. It was so funny, dude. Like for the longest time, I looked at this one particular website that gave me like the tides.
Okay.
It's like you scroll through and you got to pick a place that's kind of like nearby. And I've always picked this one spot. And I'm like, all this week, like every other time, it seemed like it was like pretty well spot on. This whole week, it was like, oh, the tide level seemed like mid-range. It's going to be pretty good. Every time I got out, tide was high. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, so it was a little bit different. So typically I want the tide a little bit lower. But for most of these outings, it was like high tide and like a little bit rougher conditions, a bit windier, so kind of create a little bit more drama, so it was a little bit more fun.
So are you glad it messed up in a way?
I am, because it got me shooting a little bit different. It actually got me going to not a different location, but one I had shot earlier in the seabird kind of season, so I went back to that one. That gave me some really nice drama and some really nice mix of, just playing around with some different shots. So, it's been a welcome in a way. because I've been nailed with waves
Yeah. Well, dude,
throughout that experience. But
I want to talk about that a little more if it's cool with you,
Yeah.
because I think
Mhm,
it's something
definitely.
that I've certainly have experienced in my time, right? And it's
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
you figure out something that works, and then
Yep.
you just kind of go, well, yes, and it makes logical sense, right? Yes, this works. This is achieving like
Yep.
the goal I'm after, and you kind of can get stuck
Yep.
in that. Meanwhile, some of
definitely.
these other conditions, in this case, a tidal condition that you don't normally go, maybe it results in less photo opportunity, but maybe it gives you
Mhm.
something totally different and
Different.
like an opportunity that you're like, wow, I never would have shot this or played with this that way, and all of a sudden it's like, man, like it's just another good lesson. Like just like last week's episode, you talked about making sure you free yourself up and move around and really
Yep.
just look around more and
Look
try to see
around.
it other ways. Sometimes I
Mhm.
think even conditions or sort of like weather conditions and timing and tides and stuff like that we limit
Mhm.
ourselves to, we might want to try and open that up a little bit more and just see what happens.
Yeah, I agree 100% because, it's one thing too, like I hear a lot of people talk about like when they go out and do an outing, they don't have like a perceived shot. They're not going for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Like I find I'm a little bit different in that I go for a specific idea in a shot, in a specific species or whatever, but I'm not fully locked into that. I think
Sure.
for me, that's the motivator to get me to go out
Yeah.
to a particular area or to a particular thing, but I quickly adapt to like whatever
Sure.
change, whatever thing's
Yeah.
going on. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to sit here. This is the shot.
Yeah.
I'm not moving, but it's my motivator. It's why I'm going to kind of get out in those locations. So yeah, the one particular evening I went to go out to kind of like, I guess my motivator has been like, I had an incredible last year with turns, like shooting this one individual with like a wide angle lens that got down to like 24 mil at one point. So I've been kind of just like having a couple of more ideas with that concept. So I've been going and checking out this one spot. Of course, the tide was high on that evening. Well, actually, I think it was maybe the beginning of that evening might have been, I seen these couple cormorants were kind of like hanging out.
Dude, this shot's
They're a
so
bit more
moody, dude.
skittish. And I'll tell you the truth, it was actually a vertical. So I had more of that dark rock on the right hand side, and it was
You mean
almost
horizontal?
too dominating. Horizontal, sorry.
Okay.
So it was too dominating. So I went with a vertical crop, and I just
Gotcha.
like the alignment of the way their heads were, one flapping
hell
its
yeah.
wing, the wave crashing in on that
the
left
clouds
hand,
back
like,
there.
splashing up. Yeah, they were really moody. It was really nice, dude. The whole week has been like incredible sunsets.
Yeah.
Like really, I wish the tide was lower so the birds would have been out more on the ocean so I could really take advantage. But yeah, this was fun. I think I'm gonna play more with this every evening. There's a group of cormorants that kind of hang out on these rocks, but as I approach, I got to kind of do a
Figure 'em
sneaky
out.
kind of approach. They're really skittish. As soon as they see you coming, they usually kind
They
of
are sometimes.
jump off the
And then
rocks.
Then you'll have other
Yeah.
birds that just, I mean, I had
Yeah,
that one
they're
in Florida. I
super
was
chill.
like petting him practically, it's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the rest of that evening was a bust. So anyway, so then this was a following evening. Again, tide was super high. I'm like, okay, I'm not going there. I'm like, what am I going to do? There's nothing else around. I decided to head out to this. So it's a much longer shoreline with these, like, you can see the round rocks. So it's a bit of a more rocky area.
It's so pretty. though.
And at the far end, I came across this small grouping of Sanderlings and semi-palmated plovers. And it was just like, dude, it was like one of those evenings where it was just like super moody. Sky was nice. Everything was like happening. Spray coming up over the beach and everything. And I was just I'm like, I got to, try to compose some shots. And I did do some a little bit wider and stuff to kind of show as much of the habitat and what was happening. Because once I went in anything that was tight, so that was a different evening. But anything that was tight, it like it just didn't
kind of
fit.
flat.
Like just kind of really, really flat. So one of the biggest problems I was having is like at this location, I guess it was an advantage and disadvantage. Is there was like a shelving. So just like it goes down, rocks, and then just where that Sanderling is, it totally dips.
Oh, you can see that.
It goes right out to the ocean. Well, they would dip down there and feed, and I couldn't really shoot them there because the waves were crashing in so much and then washing up over. it kind of kept me in like a, you know, an okay position, I guess.
Yeah.
But this one really worked out where the wave came up, and I think it kind of highlights him a little bit more and makes him stand out. With that wash coming up over the rock.
Well, and the habitat
so I thought
in
it was
this
nice.
is so good. Yeah, I mean,
it's
you can
different.
see the roughness, and like I love the extra shoreline back there, and those like waves hitting and all those rocks. Yeah, there's a great visual story here for this one for sure. And then I got to say, dude, like this one, I can't believe there's that much movement in the water drops there at 200th of a second. Like, man, it must have been blowing through there and splashing through. But like, wow, this one definitely needs to be appreciated on a larger screen. Like, you know, you're not getting to notice that stuff on the phone, but like you see it when you zoom in here. Like, incredible stuff, dude. Yeah, love the mood of this.
Yeah, it was, and that was the thing. There was so much drama happening, like, and it was so chaotic and everything splashing, and like I said, I got nailed a couple times, like because I kept pushing the boundary of like being right on the edge where I'm like, I know at some point one of these waves is gonna come up over, so I kept having to lift my lens up, and but the drama, like I could feel the spray and I could see it, and so, you know, it worked out that with the Sanderling being light, it kind of worked on that darker kind of environment, and then the sky in behind was just. The sun never really kind of like broke free of the clouds. It kept just right till the bottom. At one point, I was just hoping it would kind of light everything up and kind of give me some feel, you know, across the rocks and stuff. Yeah. But I like the way this one turned out. It's just kind of got a bit of everything in
Absolutely
it.
gorgeous.
And that, like I said, that spray is cool.
And I think, did you say these next three were all the same day as well?
Yeah. So this was this was actually last night.
Oh, nice.
And so I went back, like thinking the tide was supposed to be it's starting to fall, but again, it wasn't that great. So this was just like this little beachy area that I've been working and getting a few shots, and saw 4 Sanderlings there with a couple semi-palmated plovers, same birds running around. Actually, there was the semi-palmated sandpiper, which I think is the one up in the right-hand corner. But what was really cool is, so I was watching this grouping of them kind of running around, waves were crashing up behind me and everything. But when the wave would crash up, it would sprinkle the beach with these little stickleback fish.
Wow.
Yeah. So then the Sanderlings would rush over and grab them. So it was so cute.
They're not eating them,
they
right?
would pick them up. So they did. So they literally, this guy, he grabs this one. Two others were like chasing around. They were running around the beach. And again, it was like a slope, so I couldn't really shoot any of that. Like, or it was just, it was going into the like whitish wash of the water. It was no good. But then eventually he turned and then came like right towards me, and then came up higher and sat like on this little ledge right in front of me with this fish.
Crazy.
So I watched, I've got shots. It actually, and I can tell because I know what it is, but it's not turned. I guess they're picking the eyes out of the fish and eating them.
Wow.
So it was really neat because afterwards he held the fish up and there was no eye left, and then he just left it.
I was going to say, because there's no way he's swallowing that thing. Yeah. Not that size.
No, but they kept jabbing at it and picking.
Wow.
Like I said, I could see after. Yeah, so this is what they were doing, running around, picking up the fish and grabbing them and chasing it. Yeah, so that was pretty neat.
It's very cool behavior.
Like I've never seen him do it. So I thought this shot was cool, just kind of like holding up the fish.
Man, it's really neat. Yeah, like I wonder if he's like holding the eye on the other side at that point, because like what's he even grabbing onto?
Could be. Yeah, it kind of looks like it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, you might be right. I think it's a couple frames after this. He's got it.
Oh, okay.
In his mouth, so.
Emily's photographed them like full on plunging into jellyfish, like big jellyfish, and like feeding on something in there or part of that. Like, man, like really opportunistic shorebirds for sure. Like they eat a lot of stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Love the silhouette, man.
So another thing so the sun sets in behind this little ridge, but it's like you got to shoot up onto the beach. So the only way I can do it is literally turn myself totally around back to the ocean crashing behind me. Yeah. But I could see it was just this beautiful clouds, and like the light was kind of coming through. So dude, I got hit twice so much. The camera was dripping. Yeah. And I'm like, oh crap. Yeah. So I think it was just shortly after the shot. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, I got to go back to the vehicle. I thought I had my water bottle with me because I was going to like dump it on some paper towel that I had and kind of like soak it a bit. Didn't, kind of wiped it off. And then I was like, but the sky, I was like prepared to go home. I was back to my vehicle.
Really?
I'm like, I'm so wet. Chest waders are full. Like I was full. Like afterwards, dude, I dipped the chest waders and water was just draining out of
man.
it. But the sky was just incredible. And even like shooting with the sunset behind my back, the cloud, everything just looked gorgeous every which way. And I'm like, I can't go yet. I've got to go back and just see if I could even work something else. I'm not allowed, right? And I'm like, sacrifice the camera. So I went back down to the beach and found this Sanderling that was super, super chill. He was in amongst the rocks. And so I belly crawled in slow as possible. And he actually stayed behind, I don't know if it was that rock specifically or one just more to the left. And he kept like peeking his head up. So I've done this a couple times with other species where they're curious, like they know where you are, like they're keeping an eye on you. I decided to like duck away under like a bigger rock next to me. And I think by doing that, he was like, where'd he go? And hopped up onto that rock. So once he did, I was like, oh, perfect. I'm like, please stay there. So I inched, and then just kind of like pushed the lens out as much as I could, dipped it down, and then just shot up to the clouds. So I thought it was kind of fun to end it with a bit of a wider shot. So
absolutely,
cool.
Man, absolutely, dude.
Yeah,
I gotta say, two things really stand out to me. Number one, 2 years ago, if we were having this conversation, like you would not be a big like evening shooter, and you're doing it like crazy now.
Not at all.
Like crazy
too
now.
Much lately, too much.
You know.
Yeah. It's been fun.
It's really good. And then the other part is the zoom lens factor, right? Like that's another thing. Cut to 2 years ago, 500 all the way, you know, and like some of the, I mean, look, and listen, if we look at this, you know, 400 mil, 400 mil, 400 mil, right? So not to say you can't do beautiful stuff with the longer focal length, right? In fact, there we go, all of them. But then all of a sudden, you hit this and like this isn't happening, right? And so it just gives a different feel. And like, listen, this one's actually smaller in frame, you know? So it's not about, like, that's the other thing too, I think that people maybe misunderstand or, you know, like kind of, I don't even know what the word is about it, but I think maybe get set in one way of thinking on about zoom lens and small in frame is like, no, just because you're using a zoom lens or a shorter focal length doesn't mean the bird necessarily is going to be smaller in the frame. Because like this is like, I mean, this is absolutely here. We'll just bring these up. This is a perfect example. You know, the one on the left is 400 millimeter. The one on the right is 100 millimeter. And the bird on the right is obviously bigger, right? But there's still a very different feel to these photos. And we're getting a sense of habitat in different ways. And so neither one better than the other, just a very different variation on that. And so it's nice to be able to do both. It really, truly is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to kind of talk about that.
And I think, and I think you make a great point. Like, I think because I have a zoom lens in hand that can do, you know, a portrait when I need to, but can do a little bit wider, it's put my mindset in a different realm where I'm like, if I was just going with the 500, I'm like, portrait. That's where my head is at. Portrait. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. Knowing that, well, it doesn't always have to be. You can achieve, like you said, smaller in frame with even a 500 mil lens.
Totally.
Having that zoom has completely changed how I'm looking at things. Like, you know, with that Sanderling on the right-hand side, like if I was stuck at 500, well, I wouldn't be inching in close. It'd be pointless. I'd be looking for some different background. I'd probably shoot him against one of the rocks or something like that. Like, you know, but that with the zoom, I'm like, oh, perfect. I'll go out to 100 and move in as much as I can, include some rocks, and like, you know, just get a nice wider scene.
Well, and
so it makes a difference.
There's, you know, let's talk about that here too, right? Like, arguably, this one's really cool behavior on the left, but you know, arguably a closer portrait, just smooth background, stuff like that. Yep. Stay tuned later. We're going to talk about how to get that bokeh.
Exactly.
But what a different feeling of scale when we see the one on the right with these big boulders kind of like, you know, surrounding him on the right back there, and then getting to see the layers of the clouds back there and just getting like kissed with this little bit of pink up there. Like, it's just absolutely such a different feeling. And again, not trying to say one's better than the other, but like if you have a lens like this in your kit and you're shooting with it, like look at how much different you can make photos look, all in the same scenario, same general location, same kind of setup. And like, I mean, you showed that like so well with this entire set, dude. Like, because if I'm not mistaken, everything here was shot with that 100 to 400. Yeah,
correct.
And so like
definitely.
Just incredible diversity. We got, like close behavior, beautiful silhouettes, smaller in frame, moody lights, more silhouettes, and then wider showing off the habitat. Like just it's so cool to see that, and put it in your hands.
And I mean,
do
the thing is,
stuff with it.
Well, thanks, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think the thing is too, like what's opened my eyes to and what I appreciate so much about having that zoom is like, with those two Sanderling shots, yes, that behavior is wonderful, but above that behavior is some incredible sky, some incredible things happening, because even the light, even though it's not hitting that bird because of like the shadowy area, like there's this killer sky happening above. And, you want to show that off. Like with just a prime lens, you're not showing that off. So unless you're far back and, yes, there are scenarios when you can, but I just think having that versatility with that prime, it's opening up. I'm not always, I'm really starting to realize it's very situational. Everything's got to really line up, and it's got to be a pretty location, or at least get your composition so you're showing just the prettiest aspects of it. So I'm not always loving when I zoom out, but I'm learning when to recognize what works and what doesn't. Yeah, well, and again, like a privilege for both of us at this point. It's so nice to be able to have both lenses, to be able to have the really fast long telephoto prime that just excels at portraiture, just like we talked about in our previous episode of prime versus zoom. But having that zoom option as well when you want that flexibility. But, like we talked about on that last episode, if you had to pick one, hands down, I'm picking that zoom lens because it can kind of do both. Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And while it doesn't do the portrait quite as well as the prime lens, it gets close enough that if you had to choose one, 100% I'm choosing that. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Killer stuff, man.
I agree.
Absolutely love it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, for sure. I'm enjoying this shorebird season.
This the cormorant one, this one, and then like I really love the sense of scale there. Like those three are definitely like the ones that like kind of really stand out to me. But of course, the whole set is good stuff.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. All right, now on to less photography.
Less photography. Well, you did some.
I did some, and so here's the deal.
Something different.
Emily and I have just been on this. I've talked about it already, so I won't reiterate it too much. But we've just been on a big we're trying to cover some ground, traveling, and we've been on a really big just like seeing friends, spending time with friends and family and stuff like that. I'm actually coming to you from South Jersey right now. I'm parked in my mom's backyard, so I haven't been here in quite some time. So we're going to spend some time here as well. My sister just flew up from Florida, and so we're doing like that kind of thing. And so photography's taking a little bit of a backseat. Now, if a great opportunity comes up, I'm going to, of course, grab the camera, right? But we just haven't really seen anything. And
Definitely.
And we haven't been chasing it all. And it all comes off of like the big Newfoundland trip where we were just shooting so much, and it's like, you know what? I'm cool with it,
definitely.
So anyway, one of the big stops we did was after we did a bunch of visiting of people around the Boston area. Emily has family in this town called Long Eddy, New York. It's like maybe 2.5 hours northwest of New York City, where she grew up, like in New York City proper. And her and her family used to go there, spend some summers, at least like a week here, a week there, a couple weeks sometimes. And she just has like fond memories of it. And she was, when we were coming through, she was like, you know what, maybe we can stop there. She still has an uncle and some cousins that still live there. And turns out she didn't know this, but her uncle has since bought this property here, so he owns this cabin here and this little barn up there, and we were able, you can see the van down there, we were able to go park up there and have this private space. And then it was cool, like this was like the river she grew up like playing around in as a kid, so she walked us down there, and we got to like see that back there, which was cool. And she did this hike with her family. She actually has a really old family photo that I've seen a bunch of times of her and her family up on this beautiful overlook out looking over the Delaware River in New York, and Pennsylvania is right on the other side. It's right on the border there. And so we actually got to go do that and take the drone. So here's that exact outlook. And we took some selfies from there that are kind of the same perspective, but this is really what it looked like. You can see we had the drone, so we took it out and flew it there. So there we are sitting out on that rock. And then this is kind of the view that you would get from out that way from just a little bit higher. So some beautiful stuff there. Nice. Yeah. And a really nice hike. It's just a real like peaceful area. It's in the Catskill Mountains of New York. And fall was just starting to like kick it. Just little pops here and there we were starting to see. So we're like, all right, it's gonna be coming.
That's cool.
We got to do a paddle on the Delaware River, so we used one of those services that just like drops you upstream and you float down in the canoe, and just beautiful calm water that day. So we got to do that. Then after that whole area, we left, and on our way down to southern New Jersey, we stopped about an hour or so from where we were staying in New York there, and met up with another friend of hers, like a childhood friend that she grew up with. And we did a hike. So this was a hike in northern New Jersey that just went up to the top, had this beautiful view out over this valley. So we got to do that. So that's kind of like some of the stuff we've been up to. But the one night we're staying in this, where that cabin was, right? And we settle in for bed, turn all the lights off, and just put my head down. And all of a sudden I hear in the back, right behind the screen. I'm like, there's a freaking moth caught between the outside doors and the screen. Oh no! So it's not inside, but he's in there. He's right by our heads. I'm like, this will drive me mad all night long. I gotta like get up, get dressed, go outside, and open the door to let it out, right? Because that's just like the easiest way to get this thing going. So I go outside, do that, and then as I'm walking back, I look up and I was like, oh my gosh. Because that's what I was seeing with my eye, dude. Like,
oh no way!
You could see the Milky Way clear as day.
So nice.
It was in really nice dark sky territory. Yeah. So I shot a couple on the phone, and then actually I told them, I was like, "You got to get out and see this." And so I take a couple shots on the phone, but then I was like, you know what? Yeah. I'm taking the 10 out, dude. Yeah. I'm getting get the tripod out, set up the camera, do the whole thing. Nice. It was nice enough out. There was a barred owl calling the whole time. There was actually a pair calling back and forth, like on one side of the valley to the other, right near us. That was really neat. And then, I grabbed the shot with the van there so you could see. And we actually caught a little shooting star in that one, which I think was kind of cool.
Real cool.
And then we just lit that. Dude, that was like the phone flashlight. I just lit it, and I actually made like a snoot with my hand, because if you just lit it, it kind of lit up all the forest there and the ground and everything. True. So I just did like this, made a little tunnel and put the light in there and just shined it right on like the van. And just did that during, it was like a 25-second exposure. Just kind of held it there for what I guessed would be good. And pulled that out. So that was fun.
That's cool.
So I did actually do some.
Yeah, it's always fun to do something different. Yeah, something a little different.
Totally, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And outside of that, I've been also working really hard on some of this other stuff. So everybody knows I'm really trying to do a big push with the YouTube thing here. And one of the things I want to do is like I want to try for once a week to put out like a short but concise and helpful photo tip. Some of them are going to be post-processing. Some are going to be camera related, kind of technical stuff, or just technique and stuff like that. So I started recording that, and that led me to buy a new piece of gear, which allows me to do this. And if some of you here on the channel have watched one of my latest gear reviews on the 400 4.5, you've probably seen this shot. And so it's a motorized slider. And what it allows you to do is these super smooth, just like panning and reveal shots. And it's by... The one I got is from this company called iFootage. It's called the Shark Slider. And we don't have the DJI stabilizer or like gimbal that you can put on a motorized gimbal that gives it like all this axis movement. But the slider itself does the sliding motion, right? But then it's got a motorized head on it that you can just like point at one thing, and then on one side, move it to the other end, point at something else. And then as it slides, it'll like stay pointed at that.
Oh, cool.
So that's what that move was that you just saw with the camera, right? Yeah. Is like, it's so easy to do too. There's a little touch screen thing on it. You unlock the thing, the motor, you slide it where you want, point the camera where you want, and just go set. And then you point it to the other side,
cool.
set it where you want, and then just hit start. And you tell it, like, you get to say, take 10 seconds or take 20 seconds to move. And it just does this super smooth move, and it rotates the camera and does everything for you. It's pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
It's really neat. So yeah, and it wasn't too expensive, but I know for just some of the stuff we want to do, and Emilie's getting more into video, we wanted to play with it, and we just thought it would be kind of like a fun piece of gear to have, because I used to have one when I first started all this video, but it was like a real long one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and there was nowhere
I think I do remember that. Yeah.
In this van, because we didn't want it. In my old van, dude, I just had it like strapped up to the ceiling, like right here, just like that. And we didn't want to have that cluttered look in here. So when the time came, it was like, I don't use it enough. It's not that important. It doesn't make the cut.
Yeah.
But this one, dude, is like this long, right? It's much smaller. And so it doesn't do quite the amount of movement, but it's the fact that it does the motorized turning as well is really cool. The other one I didn't have did that, and it's it was a fun piece of gear. So
nice.
Was glad to get that.
Nice addition.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps me up. So now I'm current here, in New Jersey, and we are going to try and get out. I want to take Emilie to some of my favorite shorebird shooting spots.
Oh yeah, you did mention.
We're going to try. The weather's looking good. The tide's looking good for trying to kayak out and do the spot that I love the most. So hopefully everything works out there.
Cool.
And we can get out there. And it's been unseasonably warm. Tomorrow, we're doing a kayak ride with my sister, right? But it's going to be 87 Fahrenheit. So check that out, 30.
Oof.
Tomorrow. It's still that hot, dude.
Gosh.
It's crazy. That's my reaction.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, exactly. We're past that season, aren't we?
I know. Well, actually today here is like 21, I think it's getting up to.
I mean, that's still pretty nice.
Still, but it's not our norm. Like we're middle of September or something like that.
Right?
Like
it's pretty wild.
Going to the end.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll take it though.
Yeah. So I think that leads us to our topic. Look at us getting to our topic at 37 minutes in.
Right?
We're getting
good.
We're getting efficient at this. We're getting it down.
Getting dialed in.
Super dialed in. I'm trying to look down my list, our notes over here, and I think like we did everything, right? I don't think we missed anything.
Good, yeah.
Topic and then our show picks at the end.
Good.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, right? Because I've been doing that a lot, but you were able to pick out a lot of these photos, and we want to take everybody through like just the most simplistic, clean background bokeh all the way through. So take it away, Brad. I'll bring up just the beginning stuff for you here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and this is my jam. Like I'm all about this like bokeh stuff, especially like you get into the more crazy things. And I love when I go out, I'm almost like hunting for this kind of stuff, like surfaces that reflect and different things, but we'll get further into those. So I guess the first ones we want to talk about, like, so bokeh, like that's your out of focus main portions of your image. So a lot of times we're talking about backgrounds and sometimes foreground elements as well. So here we're kind of just showing off like the most simplest, cleanest kind of bokeh you can get. And, a lot of times you'll get this kind of result when you've got your longer telephoto lens, you've got a nice fast prime that kind of, accentuates that a bit more. And then the key thing here is the subject to background distance. So you want to get a nice big separation here. The further it back from your subject, the more kind of like blending and kind of smooth transitional effect you'll get with like all the different colors. And, because a lot of times the background, is like a mix of different either foliage or just whatever part of the environment.
Lighting.
But once it's like, lighting, the way everything's hitting, but the further back it kind of goes, and then with that big telephoto lens, like, in around a 500 or something like that, you're getting this just super creamy, clean look. And I mean, you can achieve the same thing too with a shorter end of things. You just got to be closer to your subject, and, it's all positional and stuff, but
I think that's a great point to bring up, dude, is like, for everybody watching, right? If you don't have these lenses, don't be fooled into thinking you can't do this. Now, so there's something, right? These lenses make it easier. That's what they do, hands down. There's a reason for them, right? Yep. They make it easier. They make it so your background doesn't have to be as far away, or you don't have to be as close. But I've taken backgrounds just like this with that 28 to 400 at 400 millimeter at f8 with a minimum aperture, right? So it can be done. It is way more important to do what Brad said, is get that distance, that separation. That matters way more than the fastness of the aperture of the lens. It does. So
exactly. Yeah. Great point.
So next up.
So then, so, in the previous ones, we were looking for super, super clean things a little bit further away. Here, sometimes the background could potentially be a little bit closer. So, for instance, with this tricolored herring, like I was obviously a bit closer. These aren't big birds. I was actually surprised the first time I saw one in Florida. I was like, man, these are actually kind of really small. So here, I think, my background's probably a little bit closer. I'm closer to the subject, but I'm getting a bit more, hints of texture, I guess, or a little bit more, not as much of variation. A creamy, variation in the background. So again, that's a good indicator. Your background's probably just a little bit closer to your subject, so there's not as much separation there. But again, it kind of gives some nice texture, something a little bit different in your background. And you were going to say something, right?
Yeah, it's easy. They're both styles that we've shown so far. Absolutely not distracting, right? So I think this gets into personal preference of what you like, personally. Like, what would you choose if you had to choose? Would you choose that completely smooth, almost solid color, or a little variation in there, if you can?
I think it could depend on what I'm shooting. Like, if my subject and the perch it's on has such good character to it, like if that perch, like I'm talking about, like a songbird, it's got some really cool texture to it, and it's like really about that, then maybe I want something totally clean. Whereas if the background was a bit more textured and spotty, it might start taking away a little bit, not a lot, but I think that would be my only, where I would maybe lean towards like that super, super clean. I find it like more boring now that I've shot more. Like I'm kind of like, it's okay. I want something there. But I think if the perch has kind of got some character to it, it's fine to have that super clean.
Yeah, absolutely great point, dude. I'm the same way. I definitely gravitate towards like this tricolored heron, just a little bit more variation in there. I think is for me personally is a little bit more visual interest. But that's a great point of what you just said is if the perch and the bird carry enough weight, like why draw any attention away from it, right?
Exactly.
And like that's where you're absolutely super clean, nondescript color in the background, as long as it's complementary and works, can come into play there. So that's a great point to bring up. Yeah,
for sure. And to go back just to that tricolor for a second, that's at 350. Yeah, right. So it's 350 mil. This is not a super long telephoto at 5.6. Yeah. Again, I'm close to him. He walked right up along this shoreline that I was on, but then it worked out because it, made the background super, super clean, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it's a great point to show that it can be done with those other lenses and apertures. Yeah.
Certainly. So then I think, to go to that point about like, okay, now we want to get into maybe showing a bit more of the background, showing that little bit more of an interest. So here, like with this pintail, I think I'm at like 500 here potentially.
I don't know. The settings didn't come through on this one.
500 millilits. Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Your memory will be there.
But I'm pretty sure. Looking back, I don't think I had the 100 to 400 here. So this was at 500. But he's pressed against the background a little bit more. So now I'm showing a texture, but I kind of like that. It gives a sense of environment. The colors were a nice addition to the shot.
Totally.
Placement becomes super key here. Dude, so thankfully he was in that darker part. So it's not overly distracting, because it can kind of get where it would draw a little bit too much attention if that was like right in behind his head.
Yeah.
So I think when you're wanting to show a little bit more of that texture in the background, placement is going to be super, super key with that.
Absolutely, dude.
But again, subject here is a bit more close, and I guess that was my kind of point. If that pintail was then closer, these colors would then blend a bit more and be a little bit more smooth and not as texture. You wouldn't be as defined if he was closer to me, I guess.
And that's the thing I feel like you start to learn as you do this more, is you learn like it's not so much my settings and my lens, right? And it's I'm not trying to discount the fact that fast primes do help, but it makes so much of a bigger difference. If that bird swam close to you, background just smooths right up, right? If he goes, like if he was swimming right back under there, well, he's on the same focal plane, or practically, you're going to have tons of detail there, right? And so with this kind of level of what are we showing in and out of focus there, it's all about that distance. And sometimes like this one, I love it, dude. I love the texture back there. It adds but doesn't distract. And what you said about the placement is so good, right? Because if that orange was coming right out of his head, which listen, let's be honest, like that happened. He swam right by that. There was easily a frame that you could have taken, or maybe even did take and delete, who knows, where his head is intersecting with that. That's not as good, because there's a natural opening here that fits him right in there, that makes the dark head stand out and does all that stuff, right? So the more texture we show, the more presence we give that background, the more it matters where that subject is placed, right? Because cut back to here, like, who cares? Who cares if he's against this? Who cares if he's against that? It's all matter. Soft, out of focus. Doesn't matter, right? But here, it matters. And the more in focus it gets, the more it matters. And the more it matters that it's pleasing to look at with your eye. And that's the other big part, I think, that a lot of students I work with haven't quite gotten to understand. It's like there's pleasing out of focus backgrounds, and there's distracting out of focus backgrounds. Like if this had a bunch of bare sticks and stuff that were catching light and going through there against a dark background, way too busy. It would not work.
Way too busy.
Right?
Definitely.
But put these autumn colors back there, and it's like, hell yeah, I want to show that off.
Right.
Yeah. And your next photo is a perfect example of like, man, give me intense colors and texture, and like, damn, look at this.
Yep. So again, this was like, I think it was like in around May or something. But anyways, the canopy like was just like full of all these different kind of colors. So this is the now light coming in. So now we're playing with a bit of light coming in through our background. And this is just intensifying all that color and super brightening it up. The brown creeper was in a little bit more of a shade, which is my kind of like favorite kind of lighting setup, where background's getting hit with light to create some beautiful, like interesting bokeh shapes. So now you're getting into like some of the circular shapes with that color, and then the bird's in shade. So you're just kind of getting this even exposure on your bird. But so it's a great time to play around like in the forest. I absolutely love when the light's coming in. I'm always looking for like backlit stuff, especially earlier in the morning, because you're going to get some really interesting backgrounds.
Can you add a little bit to this, Brad, for anybody interested in shooting this style? Because I think
certainly
I too love this, but there's an exposure difference there that is a window that works, and then there's an exposure difference that's too extreme. And so can you elaborate on that a little bit more about like when it works for you and what kind of lighting you're looking for? Because like if that's blazing back there, it ain't happening.
Yeah. No. So you got a bit of 5-minute window.
He's only slightly exaggerating, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, yes. Like the first few minutes of light is the absolute ideal. Colors are going to be super rich and soft, and anything that's kind of getting hit by light in your background is not going to be overly harsh, and is not going to like really kind of stand out as a distraction. And then you don't have to then underexpose your shot so much to kind of expose for those bright spots that now your subject is in like silhouette mode. So in this kind of scenario, exactly. So that with this kind of scenario, the light was just coming in just softly enough. Everything was kind of getting lit up, but there was then enough light and not enough difference in the light that then I could expose enough for my subject. So I'm not completely underexposed. I'm sure I had to lift the shadows a little bit on him, but it wasn't anything too harsh. So you definitely want to shoot within that first 20 minutes, half an hour of light. Even if it's a clear day, once even 15, 20 minutes, it's going to get tough to kind of find a spot that's not going to get overexposed in your background. Or if you get the perfect conditions where you're getting just that thin layer of cloud that prolongs that kind of like early morning glow, or I always talk mornings, but evening, same thing into that last half an hour or so. then you can kind of get more of an even exposure. And not have too many blowout areas.
Awesome. Yeah. One other thing I want to add too is something you'll notice here. It's great we got the settings on this. Is both Brad and I sort of subscribe to this mentality, especially when shooting that stuff, which is the lower your ISO goes, the better that image is going to look. Noise reduction software is amazing. No argument there. I admit it, right? But what happens to your file, the dynamic range you get, the richness of the tones and the colors, and your ability to recover highlight and shadow detail is always just increased and better as that ISO comes down. So sure, you could have taken this same shot at, 1500th of a second. I know that's not an actual shutter speed, right? But just working with the numbers there. And well, actually, let's double it, right? We go up to 1,000th of a second, you're at 640 ISO. We go up to 2,000th of a second. So just 2 stops difference. And now we're at 640, 1200 ISO roughly. And so this same image at 1200 ISO, not that bad, totally doable. The noise isn't going to be that bad, but I'm telling you folks, the richness and the look of this image is not going to be exactly the same. It's just not going to be. And that's why Brad and I shoot this way all the time.
And to be honest, and I know some people are going to be like, really? Like, why would you? But I would rather sacrifice shooting at a lower shutter speed and maybe miss him, because, I mean, brown creepers are super quick.
Yeah.
And having a clean file to work with than having one that's like crazy ISO. No, like it's going to be just garbage quality. I kind of always lean to the risk side of like a lower shutter speed so that I can keep my ISO down, especially when I've got scenarios like this where I know that background's going to be super killer. I mean, I could see the colors of the, canopy of the floor in the forest was just getting this gorgeous glow to it. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to risk getting that because I know I'm going to have to lift a little bit of shadows because of the contrast in the scene.
And it's not, I don't think either of us is saying that's the right decision, right?
No.
Again, this is totally a personal choice. I think most photographers would actually opt for, well, I'd rather get the shot and then work with something. But, it's okay to be this on this side of things as well. And I can say, like, there's kind of a look that comes with it. There's an obvious look to Brad's photos all the time with the dramatic, rich colors and lighting and just deep tones. And a lot of that comes from that shooting that lower ISO and just the look and the feeling that comes with that. These are the reasons why we're doing it. I'm just trying to explain why you're seeing these settings and these shutter speeds, because I think most photographers would argue the other way, and I'm not saying they're wrong, right? But these are the reasons why. And a perfect segue of everything you described, Brad, into like, here's what happens when that exposure difference is too bright. It's easy. You go for the silhouette.
Exactly. You got to go silhouette all day. And I mean, here too, for me, it was like, luckily the action's always happening super quick with warblers, but thankfully when this guy landed on this kind of perch, you're getting all these cool textures kind of hanging in the background. So, silhouettes for me are fantastic in the forest when somehow you can kind of like incorporate a bit of texture that you're seeing throughout. So that hanging branch down was super, super cool in the bokeh. So any chance I can kind of include a little bit more in the texture, just because it's silhouette. So you're taking away a lot of the characteristic of your subject, characteristics of your perch. You're just kind of getting the outline of it. So you kind of still see it. But then I think it's very important then that your background has some kind of like textures in it. So here you're definitely way underexposing, so you're not blowing out any of those highlights because now things are a bit brighter and you're shooting right in. Like, for instance, this is shooting like right into the ball of the sun coming through the forest, just to kind of highlight the subject, but then kind of get all those cool textures as well.
I love it too.
And
Still
here,
125th of a second.
I know. I know, right? It was just a hint, trust me. And I guess too, because a lot of it, for the most part, was kind of getting blocked out. Like, this is such a small little window. I mean, look how small those birds are, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
for sure.
But then you get some of these like this with this balance of now you're still shooting into that sun, but it's early enough, filtered enough, Now you're exposing both.
Exactly. And these are like, this is if I could pick any light, like when we were going back to our hypothetical, give me this all day long. So here it's just gorgeous filtered light coming through all the forest. And I'm just like, when I'm walking around doing my songbirds and warblers and the sun is just starting to come up, like I'm looking for anywhere that's got a good amount of coverage, but the light is still kind of filtering in somewhere. It's hitting little branches and just filled. And then, so when I'm focused on them, I'm putting them in this one little patch that the light is still coming through. And then it's going to create all these little circular balls where all that light is kind of filtering through and just give this soft, beautiful look. So
good, man.
Yeah, it's really, gorgeous. Really nice to play with.
It really is.
Yeah, it's the best kind of lighting.
And this gets into sort of the one of the things a lot of times when you say with wildlife, like the biggest question I get asked is like, how do you get those like bokeh balls back there? And we call them bokeh balls. It's like the circles of out of focus light that sort of overlap. I don't know what other term is really used for it. I feel like that's kind of the common, well-known one. But for beginning photographers or any wildlife photographer that hasn't experienced capturing them themselves, and it's like, how do you get it? Well, all right, so here's one way, and we're going to talk about more coming up. So, and if you want to just describe what's happening with that light and what's causing that one more time.
Yeah, certainly. So basically, I'd say about a good 20 feet more than that. There's a good section of spruce trees, just a good covering of trees coming through. But if you look at a spruce tree, like there's all these little tiny gaps. Like if you were to look at even a thick spruce tree, if there's blank sky behind, you're seeing little gaps coming through. So when the sun is positioned right behind that, all those little holes, basically that's in the tree or any kind of forest area, when you throw them out of focus, once you focus on your subject, that's hopefully a good, 15, 20 feet away from that background, all of those get turned in circles if you're at like a good focal length. So here I'm at 400 or 5. If it was 500, they'd get even more exaggerated, a bit bigger. So basically, so everything that's kind of like brighter in the image and it's out of focus is now going to turn into those circular balls. So.
Yeah, totally. And I'll plug myself here. I just did one of these tip videos on exactly how this is, how to create this in the forest. So I show like what the background looks like and then what it looks like through the lens. So stay tuned for that.
Definitely. And the thing is too, like I think people realize, and sometimes I didn't either. I used to look for like gaps in the forest and I'm like, no, like it needs to be thick. Like I said, I've shot like with a yellow warbler, like that first image, I've shot that same scene with light shining through it, and you actually get bokeh balls. Like it's such a small little gaps coming through. So you want to look for a good thickness within the foliage in the background, but enough that there's little small openings where the light is going to come through. And then you get really nice circles instead of like one big hot spot.
Correct.
Or, one big area. Yeah,
totally. So another way to achieve that, right? And this is getting into background and foreground bokeh now.
Exactly. Yeah, so in this scenario, like this was like a very unique scenario. It was like actually a little bit later in the morning. It was one of those like
what was it, like 30 minutes after sunrise for you, Brad?
No, actually I think this is like into an hour, but it was one of those when there was smoke,
wildfire
from some of the fires, wildfire smoke. So wild enough, dude, this is actually lily pads all getting lit up with light. And that's what's creating all the circular balls. So they were a little bit wet, I guess, from I think the night before had rained. So getting super, super low, getting the key here, getting super eye level with the water as much as you can. And then anything that's kind of, again, highlights or that's getting kind of kissed by the sun, because you can get away with like even like just different little particles or tiny, tiny, tiny rocks that are kind of in your foreground or whatnot. Anything that's kind of getting lit by the light is then going to turn into, again, the bokeh balls. Scenarios like this, focal length, I think, definitely plays a massive part to help achieve that a little bit more, especially with those foreground ones to kind of throw things off and then get those circulars. So it was, like I said, a unique lighting situation.
Yeah, but again, I'd add what makes a bigger difference is how close you are to the water. Because here we go. Let's look at this one, right?
Yep.
If you start a foot off the water, the closest area of water is going to be right about here that you can get in the viewfinder. And so you'll see some of these, but you're going to miss all of these. So literally the closer you go, the better. And I'm going to critique Brad a little bit on this photo and say the other thing you can do is play with your composition. And he has it in the next photo coming up, just like one of my examples as well. When you start getting this foreground bokeh, put your subject high in the frame, you get more of it in there.
Yeah.
Right?
More of it.
And so when we have this beautiful sparkle coming in low, throw your subject up high, right? Because listen, this is a beautiful background. There's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing happening up there. Whereas we have all this beautiful, crazy color happening in the bokeh balls down here. So let's show off more of that by just placing our subject higher in the frame and do it in camera.
I agree.
And do it extreme sometimes and go vertical. You'll have a ton of it leading in, right? And then here's Brad's other example, and he did exactly that. Like you saw the pattern there coming in. I didn't need anything above it. You just gave the bird enough space up there for breathing room. And like, what a composition and what incredible bokeh in the foreground there.
Yeah, you made a fantastic point. And I will admit, I'm like, it's one of my things that I keep trying to tell myself in the field. And I'm still not fully conscious of it because I'll see a little bit of the bokeh. I'm like, okay, perfect. But I want a little bit of background too, and realize like, no, this bokeh like in the water in the foreground is way more interesting. So I don't
jump ahead,
always angle myself. I do. Oh, I have. I'm getting a little bit better at it. For sure. Yeah, I'm getting better. But I think you make it such a strong point here. And just like you said, go vertical, you get to show more of it. You know, and with this scenario, I saw this S shape happening, and it was because there's so much of the trees in the background that were like blocking part of the light, letting some of it in, so it kind of created this cool shape as it was kind of, glistening off the water. But yeah, fantastic point about, definitely emphasizing it by pointing down a little bit further, put your subject a bit higher in the frame for sure.
Yeah, and so for anybody, if you've been by the water's edge and you're not seeing this, number one, you got to be shooting into the light, so that's key. Yep. But number two, you're probably just not low enough. And I guess one other thing we didn't touch on here, there has to be some kind of disturbance on the water, or something in it, right? So this water for me was glassy calm, but there's bubbles all over it from just gas that's coming out of the shallow marsh, right? Bubbles everywhere. Brad's got a little bit of ripple on the water here. Same thing here, just a little bit of ripple texture on the water. Because if it's flat calm, you're not going to see anything. There's nothing for that light to shine off of. So you need a little something there. And Brad's going to talk about that more when he gets into the urban light stuff too.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we do have this one that is a great example of something really unique.
Yeah, so again, when I'm out, I'm always looking for light, things that are reflecting off surfaces, that's kind of catching like, a different little bit of highlight. There's actually times I'm walking around when I don't even have a subject, but I see the way light is reflecting off something, and I'll even like say focus on a branch. What would that actually background look like when it's thrown out of focus? Or even just take the lens manually and just kind of like twist and turn and just see what kind of looks. So I was actually cluing up my morning session. Light had gotten a little bit harsher, and I was in an open, like, tundra area, just the barrens outside of Terrenceville. And as I was heading back to my vehicle on this dirt road, like, I was just seeing the light kind of, like, kissing off of, like, the frost that was on the barrens. And I think you've probably seen it before. Like sometimes if you like walk by snow, you see this like little glistening look or something like that, or anything that's kind of wet. So it caught my eye, and this palm warbler was like super friendly. He was bopping around this like real short stuff. And when I did a little test, kind of manually focus and look through and throughout, all of it was just like this rainbowy circular bokeh texture. I'm like, oh, I gotta get something in this, and luckily I was able to get this palm warbler, so it worked out really, really well. But I guess just an example of play around with light when it's being reflected and bouncing around off different surfaces or different conditions, and just throw your lens out and just see what that background looks like, even if there's not a subject around. Because then if that scenario repeats itself and there is then a subject around, you could be like, oh, I remember when light was reflecting off snow or off this, like frozen tundra or this, water surface or something else. I mean, I'm going back to, I think I had a long time ago, I had Savannah Sparrow, and this light was like kissing off this one rock far in the background. And when I threw the focus on the bird and threw that out of focus, it actually looked like the sun. And I remember I even got it like bird photographer of the year because it looked like the bird was getting hit by sun, but yet the sun was off on the right-hand side. And it was just a rock, just one plain little rock on the edge of a pond that was just getting hit by the perfect amount of light. So
cool.
Yeah, I think play around, even if your subjects aren't there, and just see what unique things you can come up with.
And then we get into what else can we do with bokeh? Where else can it come from? It doesn't have to be the sun.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and this came about for me, a few years back. I mean, obviously everyone's been kind of doing urban light kind of things, but for me, it was just like a struggle of like, I can't get out in the mornings because of work, and in the wintertime, sun doesn't rise till much, much later. So I started looking into urban stuff, like using reflected light on pond surfaces or any kind of water surface, and just playing around with that to kind of give some really cool, neat effects. At first, it was like I was trying to replicate sun in most of it, but then I kind of lean into the weird and wacky, even different colors and such. So here, it was just a couple very distant lamps that are kind of like on this walkway that goes around this urban pond, and they were just reflecting in, and so basically it's just like a waiting game of one of the ducks kind of gliding in front of these lights, and it's getting some really funky. And what's so neat about this too is that a lot of times with the sun, like the sun is coming through, you see the bokeh. It stays like that for a while because the sun is not moving, whatever's reflecting is not moving, nothing. With this, I find that textures change all the time. I don't know what it is a little bit more with it. Like there's a lot of different textures happening and stuff. So here, again, great example of what we were talking about before. Go vertical and put the subject high in the frame to really emphasize that interesting bokeh in the background and foreground.
It's so cool. You got great examples. This one was one I remember when you took this, just amazing, use of light and seeing it, and then what a moment from this cormorant as well.
Right? Yeah, this guy was this is an example of like we were talking about before, subjects being tame when other ones like same species aren't.
Yeah, totally.
These guys were just super, super chill. I had a couple of them in front of me on this pond, and again, just using a warm colored urban lamp that was way off in the distance. This was actually across the street. Nice. One of the really high poles that was kind of shining down, but the positioning of it then just kind of gave this. And this is, again, we talked about before with the brown creeper with the balance of light.
Yes.
So there's can be a big difference in the balance of light here too. Like when you go super, super early, you're into that hour to 45 minutes.
It changes in a couple of minutes sometimes.
It does. So
it's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're there too early, you're more than likely looking at silhouettes
like this.
But then there's this, like you said, there's this small window before the light shut off, because now there's too much ambient light, and then the street lights go out in many cases, to then get the exposure on your subject and have both of them balanced. So there's a very, very short window. Some days, depending if it's a cloudy day, you can extend that.
Sure.
And you can get into, like 10, 15 minutes. But like Ray said, if it's a clear sky and it's like 5 minutes, it's like, I can see it perfectly. Oh, the light shut off. I'm like, okay, session over. But
either that or it's just too much ambient light to even really see the reflection off of there. Even if the light's on, it just kind of blends away and it's not prominent.
Exactly.
So, either way, that window is short.
It is short. Yeah. So again, just playing with reflections off of the surface of the water while this guy was up on the bank. Yeah.
And then
it was really cool.
Another, probably well-seen and common version of urban lights in the background is this one, where it's just the round bokeh balls. And this is not reflected. These are the lights directly in the background. And this is one I shot out at the Great Salt Lake. So I just wanted to show an example of that. Same kind of concept though, right? It's that balance of light there where I'm getting to see those lights, still exposing for my subject. And then this one, just getting those balls of light back there, showing quite nicely. And then...
And
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, or just to kind of, so the people know, and I think I know, how far is this away?
About like
from your
5-6 miles.
Yep,
Yeah.
Exactly. And which is super
Really
interesting
far.
because when you look at it with the naked eye, it just looks like little tiny dots, doesn't it? Because it's so far away.
And barely visible.
Barely visible. As soon as you get a subject that's, within shooting range, and these are so far away. Look how big they are, right? Like, look how interesting they are. So it's super cool. And you don't see any shapes of any of the anything. It just becomes all nice bokeh.
It's a full city back there. It's a full city back there.
City.
And with your eyes, it's so dark, you're really not picking up the intensity and the color difference of the light, and it's so far away. But look at the settings, right? 40th of a second at f4, 3200 ISO. Yeah, and just let me give everybody a warning for the next one. It's one of my favorites of yours, dude. But like, put some sunglasses on. You might need some eye protection because this is also what you can do with this shot. But dude, I love it, man. I love it. I love that you did it. I love that you saw it and went for it, man.
Yeah, this goes back to like what I said. Like, you can get some really funky, and I leaned into the whole urban lights thing. This is essentially same pond that I photographed some of the other ones, but during the holiday season, they string all kinds of Christmas lights up in the trees and surrounding area, so you get all kinds of funky colors. And for a while I tried to avoid it and only look for the warm ones, so it kind of looked like sun. But over the past, I'd say about 2 years, I kind of like started this like psychedelic waterfowl project where every year I just try to lean in. So for this kind of one, it was a little bit different. Like, we talked about getting super low. Here I'm low because you can kind of tell from the water line. But I'm elevated just enough because I didn't want just all of that bokeh in the background to kind of like
strip,
totally fade out and kind of like be like just one straight thing. I kind of wanted to see more of it in the background.
Yeah.
Thinking of now, like some of the ones I've been trying now, I'm actually even higher and I'm shooting more down, so that way all of the bokeh that's in the background is a little bit more crisp, a little bit more defined, and not kind of get all that smooth in the background. So yeah, it's kind of fun depending on what you have to play around with, kind of like your perspective to get high and low. But here, like I said, just leaning into those funky reflective colors and patterns, and it just adds something different to a portrait that otherwise, if that wasn't there, kind of be boring. It would just a plain background.
And
so
for anyone curious, we're both shooting all these handheld, 40th of a second. Look at the sharpness. There's 100% zoom of the sharpness here, right? Same thing. I think 40th. Oh, I don't have the original on this one, so, or maybe there we go. There's the sharpness on it. 40. This thing was like actively feeding. Your bird was actively swimming across, right? So like, there's it's it can be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it can be
definitely.
done.
Definitely.
Cool, man. Yeah, on to the next thing here.
So, like we talked about all the different lighting scenarios where we're kind of getting reflective light coming, reflective light off the water surfaces, light coming in through trees in the background. So here we're kind of incorporating that lighting scenario. So here, light kind of shining off the ocean that was down in the background and all the waves that were kind of crashing. But now I'm incorporating a bit of foreground. So here I got lower, was using the grasses that were in the foreground. And what's super neat with the telephoto lens is that when you get close enough to that grasses, it actually, and I don't even know, Ray, you might be able to kind of explain it more, like why it actually reflects into the bokeh balls, but you'll actually get patterns. So anytime you have whatever you have in your foreground, you'll actually see some of those textures within the bokeh balls that are actually being shown in the background, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of straightforward, right? So it's not necessarily it's like reflect or anything. It's a shadow. It's blocking. It's blocking the light, those individual points of light from hitting your sensor, and so you can have it really close. And like this is it, like guys, like you see this green out of focus blotches here. It's that out of focus, but because it's blocking the light, it's so close, it precisely blocks the light. So even though that foreground element is out of focus, when it's actually blocking the light, it becomes more kind of in focus in a way, right? And you get these textures that are kind of in a way like sharp and clear, but in my opinion, like really fun and wonderful, you know? And so, really it's basically fun. Like whatever is close to the lens and blocking it, it gets shadowed in potentially all of the bokeh, depending on where you place it. And I'll show an example in a little bit. But yeah, man, it's a wonderful technique. We love teaching this on our workshop in Newfoundland.
Definitely.
You know, I know this is like one that you find it every time when the situation comes up and you get everybody on it. And like so many most people are like, oh my gosh. And you see it in a lens. You see it in the lens with a DSLR. You see it even better with mirrorless. But even with the DSLR, for you folks not shooting mirrorless yet, you can easily still see it. You see that shadow, so you can actually like move around and place it where you want. And we've even experimented with and had some clients where you can maybe pick some of those dead vegetation up. I'm not condoning like ripping out a bunch of vegetation, right? No. But you can pick it up and you can hold it in front of the lens and place it there where you want and get that shadow. It's pretty cool stuff.
It certainly is. And you know, we talk, like I said, we focus a lot on the background, but with your foreground bokeh, it just kind of creates a more dreamy feel to your image and more soft look. And, you know, in a lot of cases, like especially with the bridal mirror on the right-hand side, if you stood up and didn't use that foreground grasses, he's just on a plain rock. It's just boring. There's no real interest to it. Yeah, it doesn't look all that pretty. So here, getting our super, super low perspective and using those taller little grasses just kind of gives it more of a dreamy feel to your image.
Absolutely. Here's a quick example of how crazy it can get, right? So here's a bird I photographed. You can see the bokeh is pretty standard. I focused on the bird. But I went specifically to this, which actually, if you look up, there's a video I have on YouTube showing me shooting this live. So you can see how it happened. But when I throw that bird out of focus, just like Brad was talking about using grass and branches and stuff in your foreground, I use the bird in my foreground to create this. So this is a single bird.
So cool.
But I shadowed that bird into all the different bokeh balls back there. And so I just manually focused it and played around with the focus till I got it dialed in. But, you know, you're essentially looking at, this is what the scenario looks like to your eye. And then you can shadow that bird or whatever is in the foreground into all those bokeh balls. So I just wanted to share that real quick. And then guys, just stick with us. We got a couple more examples here of some really fun stuff, and then we'll get on to our picks.
Yeah, so again, just to kind of go back to like what Ray is saying there, now you can, you know, with the knowledge you have of like all the different kind of filtered light you can look at and the foreground stuff, that's when it's time to play and just, you know, here, Ray and I think it was like one of our first time shooting together. I brought him out to find the yellow belly flycatcher, and this guy came into a perfect spot where we could actually use layering of trees that were right in front of our face, and then the light filtering in through the trees. So we've got shots of like just with that light kind of in the background, which gives that beautiful textured look, almost like the white-throated sparrow that we had before. Nice round balls in the background, nice and clean. But here, because we threw in the trees in the foreground, you get this like funky kind of layering that kind of splits up the bokeh balls a bit, and then positioning him, which was key, so that nothing was kind of interfering with the subject, but just kind of gives you a little bit of a different feel to your image.
Absolutely, man. I love it. And you have one more we're going to look at right here, shooting through foreground. We're not going to dive into foreground bokeh too much because that's kind of a topic on its own. It's probably one we'll do down the road because there's so much to kind of think about and talk about with, especially when you get into distances and stuff like that. But, you know, we wanted to introduce the concept and say, like, throw some stuff in front of your lens, guys, in between you and your subject, because here's a beautiful example.
Yeah, and again, like to go back to what I was talking about before, like with looking at light filtering in through a background where it's not always like as open as you would think. It's kind of actually very messy and there's only little small gaps. Same thing here. I was shooting through, I think it was a bunch of palm trees, and it's just all the leaves and the light is are hitting the leaves, but I was looking for just the tiniest little gap where the duck would kind of swim in through and then just and grab my shot there. But it just added more interest. Remove that and shoot down on that. That's a shot I'll delete. I'll delete every day, but wouldn't press the shutter. But I think throwing in a texture like that can really kind of create something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and certainly fun to play with. A pain, I will say, and then maybe we'll get into more how frustrating those kind of shots can be for placement and stuff. But the result is worth it when it all comes together. I think it'd be a great topic for us to hit in the future. Actually, just wrote it down. It's just like a whole episode just on foreground bokeh, because honestly, guys, there's enough just to talk about the foreground stuff for sure. I agree. Yep. Definitely. So
excellent stuff. We'll wrap it up with just a few specialized examples. So a lens Brad has as well now, and I've been shooting for a little while. This is a TT Artisan 250 millimeter reflex lens, or AKA donut bokeh lens. And this one is the lens is specifically made to create these unique bokeh patterns. And not only that, it's just like this painterly feel of what it does to the background and everything. And here's another example, a really extreme example of showing like the craziness it does in the background. And so it looks wonderful in the forest. It is a manual focus lens. It's a fixed aperture lens, so you can't even change the aperture. I think it's 5.6 if I'm not mistaken.
5.6, yeah.
And but it also works on the water too. And just, you know, just like, again, like Brad talked about, and like we love to do, experimenting and really pushing the boundaries of what you can do with that bokeh in the background. And I'll admit, you know, there's photographers that this is not at all for them. And I've had them straight up say, they're like, yeah, it's just too distracting. I don't like it. Personally, we like it. That's why Brad bought one recently. And I know a bunch of others. We're actually going to be an affiliate for TT Artisan, actually, because I'm trying to set that up right now.
That's awesome.
But we've sold so many of those lenses. I know at least 5 other photographers that have told me they bought it after seeing us share a bunch of the stuff and talk about it.
Oh, awesome.
So there are a lot of people that really like it. And it's a fun challenge for sure to manually focus birds, but you can do some cool stuff with it.
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So that's it, guys.
Love it.
Like, yeah, there's our bokeh stuff. You know, a lot to work with there. I mean, I feel like this is one of like our most informative episodes we've done yet. So
yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. This is, like I said, right up my jam. I love this.
Absolutely. You know, and
Really
so for
cool.
everybody watching now, like, please, like, we want to keep doing this, but we really want it to grow. So I'm just flat out asking, share it with your other photographers, like the friends that you know, like help us spread the word on this. 'Cause I got to say, I'm really proud of what we're putting together here. I'm really loving this show. Brad and I are really enjoying doing it, and we plan on continuing to do it, but we want to share it out there. We think it's helpful stuff for a lot of people. And so, yeah, help us out with that if you can. We really would appreciate that.
Definitely.
And so let's talk about appreciating other photographers now. Look at that segue.
Exactly.
Damn, I'm like a pro now.
That was smooth. Tell you, we're getting it dialed in.
So this episode's Wildlife Photo Chat Challenge, we're picking from what we asked back on, let's see, episode. I think it was, you know what, I don't have it visible, so who cares? That's all right. A previous episode we'll go with. We asked everybody to share their close-up frame fillers, and you know, we got a lot of great, really nice examples here. It was hard to pick on this one, Brad. There was some really nice ones mixed in here.
It was, and my pick, I have to admit, you got me with the light, because it's
the light you just talked about.
It's my favorite kind of lighting, and when I saw it, and then of course the species itself too. They're such a beautiful bird. It's one we don't get here, so we don't get to see. But yeah, to me, it was all about the lighting here and all the nice details you can see, because you get that even exposure on your bird, because the light's getting hit in the background. That bird's kind of in a shaded area. Just nice and soft. So yeah, really, really nice job. Nice classic shot of a woodpecker. But everything to me just lays out so perfectly there. So really nice job. Then Jay Birdman. Really good job on that one.
And you don't know this, Brad. Ryan is a current mentorship student of mine. And
oh, no way.
Ready for this? So I talked with him. We had our monthly meeting last week. And I just assigned him, like, his assignment this coming month now, until we meet the next time, was a project on these birds. Like, he had some great shots.
No way.
It's nearby to his house, and I was like, dude, like, this is it. I was like, I want you to go back and focus on these birds. And I said, I was like, let's really concentrate on the early morning, late evening light. Let's get out there for that. And then like he shares this, and then boom, it's there, and you pick it. I loved it. It was just such a great setup.
Awesome.
Because like I knew you didn't know any of that, you know?
No, I had no idea. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. That's cool.
And he was joking with me on the session. He's like, he's asking about stuff. He's like, because I'm going to hashtag some of these. I'm like, hey, man, like, you got some inside info? You can get my reaction to it. Like, I'll allow it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But obviously, I'm trying not to let, like, specifically to pick students just because I'm working with them or anything like that. But if they take a great photo, I will. And you can pick them. So
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic job. Yeah. I'm glad you got him working on that, because that's a killer shot. Yeah.
He nailed it.
Right up my alley.
He really did.
Yeah,
great job, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right. So I picked this one.
Ooh, yeah.
Loved it. great use of foreground bokeh. Lovely tie in there. But
Definitely.
Super unique bird. And just like, the clarity, the kind of the mystery of that little pop of foreground green just added something to it. And then, of course, just being a unique species that's not from where we are used to photographing and something that we see often helped kind of really grab my attention. But it's just a well done, like, frame filler, man. Like this, just talk about frame filler, like the rest of the bird's not even in there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And what a perfect subject to do a frame filler because of that uniqueness of that bill and whatever's going on with the head and everything.
Off.
Like, you want to show that off and get super tight because, I mean, most of the viewers have never ever seen that species or probably even ever heard of it. So, like, to be able to show those details and be able to really kind of nitpick and look at the species itself is, perfect example of a tight portrait. Well done. Really nice.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't have the photographer's name. I reached out to them, but just last minute. I just, chose it a little bit late today. I've been really busy. So if I get their name, I'll include that in the notes.
Certainly.
But you can see and follow them right here from their account on Instagram. So that should do the trick. But dude, there we go, man.
Awesome.
That's a wrap, right? What a great episode. That was a fun one.
It was. Yeah, I really enjoy. I do. To echo what Ray said, like, I really enjoy. I think we both do, like, sharing our knowledge, sharing our experiences, helping people out because it's fulfilling to see other photographers when those moments click and then they're super excited. Like they message us. Message us from our workshops. They're like, oh my God, now I do this all the time. Oh, now I see light the way. And it's just such a great feeling. So, and I think we're both open books with this stuff.
Absolutely.
And we love to share everything. So, we appreciate any feedback, comments, shares, get it out there and we'll keep this stuff coming.
Yeah, let's do it. But in any case, we're loving doing it. We're having fun, so we're going to keep it coming. We're not always going to have topics like this. Some weeks, especially when we've both been shooting a lot, we're just going to do some catch up. But there's always something to learn in there. Just keep coming back. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all the comments and feedback we've been getting and the participation. We love when you participate, when we ask you questions and you share that in the comments. Thanks so much, everybody. And anything else you want to add before we go?
Don't go. Yeah. Wildlife Photo Chat Challenge for next week.
Call.
Don't forget.
Back to the challenge. Let's switch back. Yeah. So that's right. Good call, man. I did forget that.
Yeah.
So next week let me rephrase. In an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
There you go. This time, Wildlife Photo Chat Challenge. Make sure you use that hashtag. You can see it right there. And I'm just looking for it here. We're doing best bokeh. Let's do it. We just taught you all about everything we can think of to do some really fun, unique bokeh. Show us your bokeh shots. Tag them up.
Get out there
new
and
ones,
get them.
old ones, and then we'll pick a favorite on the next episode. All right?
Definitely. Awesome. Look forward to it.
Good call, Brad. Thanks on that one.
No worries.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Awesome. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everyone.